You may have seen that Donald Trump wants to declassify Pentagon files related to UFOs. This tweet has been shared with me a couple of times, either asking for my opinion or sending me a mocking, haha, you won't be so cocky about your debunks for much longer. So I'll share my point of view and what I think will happen if Trump actually manages to declassify some things. So, I'll have to start this video by clarifying my point of view on the UFO phenomenon. When people discuss UFOs online and someone suggests my videos, we always get the same response. It's the same old bad faith claim that basically AstroNoGeek is just one of those skeptics who can't help but debunk everything just to be right and who doesn't understand the UFO phenomenon at all. So if you see this kind of comment, please refer the author to this video. First of all, the UFO phenomenon balls and nonsense. UFO means UFO, unidentified flying object. In other words, everything and especially nothing. Bird, plane, cloud, and even Venus in the evening sky, so stop. We don't care about UFOs. If we're not hypocrites for a minute, I think we can say that what interests ufologists isn't UFOs, it's the possibility that Earth is being visited by extraterrestrial civilizations. No, it's interesting to learn about the high-tech and stealth gear the Russians and Chinese use to fly over the US. But if we're being honest, that's not what we're looking for when we're interested in UFOs, right? What we want is spaceships of extraterrestrial origin. We agree. Alright, so regarding my opinion, not about UFOs whose existence I don't question, but about extraterrestrial spaceships, here's what I think. At present, there is no tangible evidence of extraterrestrials visiting Earth, and I don't think the Pentagon is hiding anything conclusive. But you'd be wrong to think I'm saying this just because I'm some asshole skeptic, a serial debunker. To be completely honest with you, I hope it's true. I'm not just saying that to seem like I'm on your side, okay? No, I'll explain to you why I hope it's true. Currently, whether you like it or not, the current state of science is what I'm about to tell you. It's impossible to travel through space to another star. The distances are just too great. It's impossible to exceed the speed of light. Our theories do allow for the distortion of space-time and moving a bubble of space faster than the speed of light. But for that, you would need a huge amount of very dense matter with negative mass. As far as we know, that doesn't exist. So, it's impossible to go anywhere else. No other planet in the solar system is habitable, and terraforming is science fiction. So, we're stuck here, and if Earth is done for, so are we. And even if that's not the case, in a few million years, well, it'll be over anyway. If Earth is visited by one or more extraterrestrial civilizations, well, that implies several things. First of all, since no other planet in the solar system is inhabited, and we've checked thoroughly right, that means they're coming from other stars. Since we haven't been hit by an Independence Day or a War of the Worlds scenario, we can assume that after all this time spent observing us without exterminating us, and with technology so far ahead, they're at least peaceful. So either they're space tourists coming to see us like we go to see animals in a zoo, or they're scientists coming to study us like we study animals in a zoo. But above all, it means we're just a few scientific discoveries away from being able to travel faster than light ourselves. Because obviously it's possible. And so, we're just a step away from eventually joining a civilization or a group of galactic civilizations with whom we could share even greater knowledge. Who knows what kind of things such a civilization could know in terms of environmental management or biology or in philosophy. So if all this is true, it's damn good news for humanity. We can hope that one day we'll leave Earth and survive the death of our star, and basically, all the universes you love from your favorite sci-fi works become a lot more plausible. Well, more likely Star Trek than Star Wars, but you get the idea. So, for a guy like me, discovering real evidence of an extraterrestrial visit to Earth would be some damn good news. And I can tell you that the day we have something tangible, I won't hesitate to make a video about it. But the thing is, I'm not really known for my videos supporting the UFO phenomenon, but rather for debunking and exposing confusion and nonsense. Why? Because hoping it's true doesn't mean being ready to swallow anything. Some time ago, a woman insisted to me that there was a UFO at her place every night. After checking, the strange light that came in the evening and then left, without a doubt, well, it was Venus. I know, I checked. But she still insisted it was a UFO. I couldn't do anything to convince her otherwise, and today she still tells her own version of the story. So, put yourself in my shoes for a couple of minutes. I want it to be true. But the thing I want more than anything is to know the truth, even if I might not like it. Even if it doesn't align with my beliefs. So, I would really like it if we were visited by extraterrestrials. But when it's Venus, it's Venus. Debunking UFO cases doesn't mean I'm claiming they're all fake. I'm just waiting for one thing, to come across something real, something tangible, the ultimate proof. On the other hand, I don't want to believe in something that's fake. And if a UFO case is just a fabrication by someone with an overactive imagination, well, I want to know about it. Because I don't want to believe in a made-up story. Alright, another example to illustrate my point a bit more. You know that elephants exist, okay? But if a guy tells you he has one in his basement, do you believe him? Yet he swears it's true and even has blurry, crappy photos where you can't even recognize his basement just to prove it. Well, just because elephants really do exist, and I know that, doesn't mean I have to believe this guy. Because when it comes to UFOs, unfortunately, what's way too often behind it is a wannabe guru who wants to sell me his book. So it's in his best interest for me to believe in it. But it's still not true. Let me be clear, from my view, it would be amazing news if there were proof we're being visited and interstellar travel is possible. The day it's proven, I'll be able to tell you loud and clear, Star Trek will just be a matter of time. And even if it's still far off, just think about the energy problems we could solve beforehand with a bit of future tech. But hoping it's true doesn't mean I'm willing to fall into the trap of the first huckster selling books who comes along. Nor to believe Micheline, who's been raised on too much Temsex and sees a spaceship in every plane or every oddly shaped cloud. I don't debunk just for the sake of debunking. I debunk to sort things out. And if something can be destroyed by the truth, then it deserves to be destroyed by the truth. And it's not my fault if none of the cases hold up. Well, until now. Because now that that's been said, and I hope once and for all, it's time to get back to the main topic of this video. Donald Trump announced that he wants to declassify the files related to the UFO phenomenon. And may God bless America. Alright, so for those who haven't been keeping up with the news, I'll make it short for you. A few years ago, there was a man living in the United States named Jeffrey Epstein, an opportunist, a cheater, and a manipulator who managed to make a fortune by advising billionaires on financial investments. And as a result, he also became filthy rich and friends with other filthy rich people. And this dear Jeffrey had a private island where he organized parties whenever he wanted. Not everything is public yet, but it seems like there was a lot of competition about who would put their thing in children. And the worst part is, apparently that's not even the worst of it. And so, among the close friends of dear Jeffrey who took part in these little parties, there are quite a few of the world's most powerful people, and Donald Trump, who was his close friend. I'll skip the details since it's a mess, but Donald clearly knows it stinks and is doing everything to divert attention from the case. His justice minister delays publishing documents, and he keeps trying to distract everyone by saying, "Look over there, something super interesting," and definitely not the truth he's neck deep in. It's a bit like if you were accused of rape and to make people look elsewhere you shouted, "Look, a Stroganoff, he's a fascist." Meow. I thought my safety screen was on, but the shot fired anyway. So let's be clear, this announcement of declassification isn't because he wants to reveal the truth and God bless America, right? It's because people are really into the Epstein conspiracy and they're trying to serve them another conspiracy they think is more appealing on a silver platter to distract them. So the first thing to keep in mind is that by looking over there, we're falling into a trap. That doesn't mean you can't look over there, but be careful. You have to keep in mind that all of this is a big decoy. Alright. And now I'm going to explain what I think we can expect. And in a word, nothing. First one, he's announcing this today, but as fickle as he is, if it doesn't work out, he'll move on to Plan W. Yeah, we've already moved past Plan B a while ago, so maybe it's a big announcement, but behind it there will be nothing. If he does what he says, you still won't get more than the 25,000 copies we already have. Blurry images, unidentifiable things. You know, I'm sure that after half a century of the Cold War, the Pentagon has terabytes of reports about objects that were seen without anyone knowing what they were. Even with radar echoes added, if you like. That doesn't prove anything other than the fact that the American military saw things without knowing what they were. And let me just remind you of a couple of concepts in passing, okay? High-tech spy plane, drone, spy satellite. Yes, because at 200 kilometers altitude, a radar echo could also be something burning up as it re-enters the atmosphere. Quadcopter drones are recent, but remote-controlled planes or even helicopters with crazy maneuvering abilities, well, that's much older, That's something you have to keep in mind too. And there are also misidentifications, A service member is just a guy like you and me who decided to enlist, that's all. He receives no special astronomy training. Besides, if he's not directly or indirectly connected to the Air Force, he doesn't get any training in aeronautics either, So if he sees something, and since he's conscientious, he writes a report, well, he's no different from anyone else who watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind and can't identify a fireball, an iridium flare, Jupiter, Venus, or anything else, really. So really, the military says it, so it's true argument. We really need to stop with that, The army, it's you with a uniform. And if you went to officer school, well, it's you with a badge and some stars, but still no more training in astrophysics, Just remember those really damning images leaked from the Pentagon where an F-18 locks onto something with its thermal camera. Back in 2018, when talking about tangible proof of UFOs, I said that at first glance, it could just as easily be a fly trapped in the camera. And when the video started causing a stir, I got a flood of mocking comments. Except in the end, it was a flare. An optical artifact caused by far infrared on an object whose behavior wasn't strange at all. It all depended on the camera movement. I think that for a quick 2-second off-the-cuff analysis based on my limited knowledge of optics, I wasn't that far off. And even today, people still bring that up to me. Or the story about David Grush testifying before Congress that he heard a guy say he heard that the military was hiding things. Reminder, a member of parliament once wanted to investigate chemtrails, just saying. A statement from a high-ranking person isn't automatically true. I don't see why we should believe some soldier who heard something just because he's in the military, when an American president can lie to our faces while looking us in the eye. So if it happens, we'll probably get a flood of reports, each one more empty than the last. We'll probably get infrared footage of something we can't identify, maybe even some turbulence. And you know what? Well, that's exactly what you need if you want people to dig into this and stop looking where Trump doesn't want them to look. But God bless America. And now I'm going to tell you why it's certain that there will be nothing. Even if the Pentagon was hiding a group of little green men housed in Area 51 at the taxpayers' expense. It turns out that in the United States it's possible to request the declassification of documents, yes. But not all of them. There are different levels of secrecy, and at the very top there's one that can never be declassified. Never. That which concerns national security. For example, you can't request the declassification of the plans for an H-bomb or the plans for the latest fighter jet currently in production. And I hope no one will insult me by seriously asking me to explain why that's logical. So let's imagine the Pentagon has an archive room full of all the analyses that 2 generations of researchers and engineers have done on a super high-tech alien ship that crashed in the Nevada desert back when cars had tail fins. At what point do you think the classification level of the most advanced technology we can imagine would be lower than that of the H-bomb? And besides, it's Trump, not God. Even though he's the president of the United States, he doesn't have absolute power. There's a government behind him. There's an administration. And he can yell as loud as he wants. Well, if the Pentagon says no, it's too classified, then it stays classified. And if the Pentagon has crazy technologies recovered from flying saucer wrecks, declassifying even just the proof that they have them would already be a mistake. Those documents, if they exist, are just a secret and you'll never see them. So, in the near future, three options. One, Trump makes a lot of noise, but in a week he's moved on to something else and you'll never see the slightest hint of declassification. Two, he keeps his word and the Pentagon is indeed hiding extraterrestrial spacecraft. You won't learn anything since only low-quality photos of Chinese or Russian spy drones are available, as the real documents are classified above even the president's clearance. And three, he keeps his word, but in any case, there's nothing, so you'll get blurry photos of Chinese or Russian drones and radar echoes of Canadian goose migrations because, for sure, there are terabytes of that in the archives. In other words, if anything comes out, well, it won't be proof of anything at all. I'd like to offer another line of reasoning. Let's suppose the Americans are hiding some insanely advanced technology they picked up from an alien spacecraft. Why don't we see it anywhere? I mean, the Americans have never hesitated to use their technological advantage to keep ahead of China or Russia or Japan, during the war. So why now, especially at a time when their geopolitical dominance is seriously being challenged? Don't they pull out one or two crazy gadgets? This would be the perfect moment. It's been the right time for 20 years. Of all the technologies we have today, none of them suggest that they fell from the sky, literally or metaphorically. So, I think that between the two options, one, they have crazy technology and they're not doing anything with it, even though things are bad for them, and two, they don't have any crazy technology taken from a flying saucer, the second option raises a lot fewer questions, If files are declassified, there will be nothing in them. That's certain for the reasons I've explained to you. So it can't be used as proof either to prove the existence of extraterrestrials or disprove it. We'll be at the same point as we are now. But even so, without access to documents, if the United States had something the others didn't, we should notice it in other ways. I've mainly discussed the United States, but other major countries focused on armament could also have experienced a forced landing. And I can't help but notice that neither China nor Russia has yet come up with a super energy source or a revolutionary weapon. So, as far as I'm concerned, for now I have no reason to have any hope about this announcement. And as this tale suggests very well, even if there were something to know, you wouldn't know anything at all. But if you knew how much I hope I'm wrong in saying this, honestly, I dream about it, The Pentagon is compelled to release unwanted information, revealing they have obtained extraterrestrial technologies. That would be crazy. And I'd be the first one to jump on it. On the other hand, the fact that the Pentagon is an alien spaceship wouldn't change anything about a guy who saw a space Renault with dwarves dressed in aluminum that he paralyzes with a phaser back in the 60s. Or the two girls who got food poisoning and ran into a helicopter, well, that would still be crap, right? And yes, remember, elephants do exist, But Robert the pervert who claims he has one in his basement to try to lure little kids, well, he's still talking crap, right? Remember, I just want to sort things out. So I hope we'll have something tangible, something concrete. Honestly, that would be great. No point coming in all smug with astronomy. What, are you saying I'm talking crap? Right. I didn't say any nonsense. I'm just looking for real UFOs, and honestly, I'd really like to have a real one for once, In the meantime, keep your eyes on the sky, stay astronomical, and see you next time.